Alright guys, this is going to be day 73, or no, day 74, can't read, but yeah, today I did my personal finance test earlier today. Question test I was studying for yesterday, excuse me. Yeah, it was a crazy test. There was 250 questions on it, 250, and they were all like fill in the blank questions, so no multiple choice. So yeah, pretty insane. Definitely did not enjoy that, but I think I did at least better than most of the people in that class. I would say I probably got at least a 70 on it. I got like maybe, I'd say like at least 150 right. And it gave us 37 skips, right, to skip questions, but insane test, man. Like, I don't know. Those are classes that really tick me off about computer science. It's stuff that you're forced to learn that, I mean, it's pretty necessary. I think personal finance is a good thing to learn. I don't know if I need to be heavily tested on it. I need to spend a whole semester doing that. Yeah, I don't know. But whatever, glad that's out of the way. Now I can finally focus on coding again, but I actually want to do. I hate studying for the test, so. But yeah, I guess we still have the final and another test in that class, but whatever. That's a month down the road. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and let's get into it. So I just finished this caching section. Wasn't that bad. Oh, I'm sorry for the light mode, by the way. I know it is kind of a flashbang. Turn the brightness down, I guess. I can't see anything right now. I don't know why. Some days dark mode works for me, some days it does not. My eyes are probably going out, but whatever. So now we're at AWS S3. Oh god. I've run out of my AWS free because we used it in school for a server administration class. So I guess hopefully I won't spend too much because I don't want to spend too much AWS. Promise you AWS S3 and you're going to get it. But first understand why S3 being serverless is kind of a big deal. Serverless computing. Okay, whatever. Fuck this. We're going back to dark mode. I can't deal with the flashbang myself. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. Serverless computing is a cloud service category where the customer can use different cloud capability types without the customer having to provision, deploy, manage either hardware or software resources, other than providing customer application code to provide customer data. So I've always been kind of curious about this because like something like Vercel is supposedly serverless, right? And frameworks like Nest.js. I think Nest.js is also serverless. Alright, so basically all it means is that you don't manage the actual server. I mean, so obviously the server is still used. The serverless, I don't know, to me I felt like for a second they weren't using a server somehow. I didn't know how that worked, but I guess that isn't the case. Server-side rendering, dynamically rendered on demand via serverless functions. Buying a VPS off Hetzner, and posting something on there would be considered not serverless. Dude, I hate these tables, man. They're so annoying. I literally have a prompt in here. Please do not use tables in your responses. Not a single LLM that I tell this to listens to me. They all use tables. It ticks me off. I don't want to read a table, man. Like, I want to read text. So yeah, okay. Now that makes sense. Kind of a confusing naming, but whatever. It ticks me off so much. A simple web application architecture. Server is likely a single machine running the cloud. So it probably runs HTTP server that handles incoming requests, a database running in the background. HTTP server talks to file system. Server uses directly read and write larger files. All on one machine. So server takes the request. Server talks to the database. Server talks to file system as well. All on one machine. What's wrong with this? Well, not so much. Not much. Honestly, it's a perfect way to build a web application. Even in production, that's it. There's some trade-offs. Scaling for app gets popular. You need to scale your single machine. Okay, it doesn't apply to me. It actually is a while ago now. Server goes down, your app goes down. Your service crashes and in turns remove RF, you're in trouble. Running a server 27 can mean paying 24/7. Maintenance. I would say scaling is limited to one machine. Major upside of running everything on a single machine is cheaper. Scale infinitely, that's definitely not true. Infrastructure is easy to manage. That could be true. Server goes down. I think it's cheaper, right? What? Interesting. How is it not cheaper? Oh, it's cheaper to make a single powerful. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, I didn't read the whole thing. That's on me. Amazon One Services is one. The big three. There's Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. It's the largest, most popular, yeah. User area tax. For all day-to-day administrative work, create a new IAM user with admin positions to help keep your account secure. Okay, I had the stand-up going on over here, but I'm starting to think this is just kind of annoying. Listening to other people yap doesn't really work. Change to something else. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to record this because this is personal information, but I will come back after this cut. Alright, that is finished. A lot of old AWS account of mine and created IAM user and some stuff. So yeah, look at this video.
But usually whenever you hear someone talking about serverless, they're talking about AWS Lambda or Google Cloud Functions. The point being, they're talking about serverless compute. Serverless storage, on the other hand, was actually the first popular serverless offering. In fact, it's so popular and widely used that we barely even call it serverless anymore. I'm talking about AWS S3, Google Cloud Storage, Azure Blob Storage, those types of storage offerings. In fact, if we listen to that SST guy again, he has a really great definition of the term serverless.
For me, serverless pretty much means I'm paying for usage. Ideally, it scales to zero. So if I'm not using it, I'm paying zero. There's no like entry level cost. The more I use it, the more I pay. The less I use it, the less I pay.
So by that definition, that it scales to zero and that you only pay for what you use, S3 is the perfect serverless offering, at least for storage. Now, there are a few benefits of these giant managed services using them for serverless storage. The first is massive scaling potential. It's very unlikely that your little app, I hope it's not that little, but it's very unlikely that your app is going to outscale the storage capabilities of something like S3. The second is availability. These massive cloud providers replicate their servers that run S3 and Google Cloud Storage and so on. They replicate them across many data centers. So even if one data center goes down or someone unplugs a cable, there's backups. So the data stays available and ready to use with very high uptime percentages. On that note, due to them replicating the data across data centers or across availability zones within the same region, the data is redundant and backed up. So you don't have to worry about losing the data because of one corrupted hard drive. Another benefit is you have little to no maintenance to do on the servers. Again, this is why it's called serverless. You don't have to manage the AWS S3 or the Google Cloud Storage servers. Yes, they exist, but they're somebody else's problem. If you need to upgrade an operating system on one of those boxes, need a new version of Nginx, that's not something that you have to worry about. And then another benefit is just because we're operating at such massive scale with these products, it's just frankly pretty cheap when you only have to store a few things. It can get expensive, especially when you need high bandwidth over time, but it's still probably cheaper than you doing it yourself. I mean, usage isn't that expensive on these massive cloud providers. In my mind, the biggest drawback is vendor lock-in. So it makes a lot of sense to me if you're already running on AWS or GCP or Azure to just go ahead and use their storage offering. It's a pretty good serverless offering, but it might not make sense to jump to AWS if you're hosted elsewhere just for S3. So vendor lock-in is always a concern, but it's also always a trade-off and not necessarily a bad thing. Now, as far as using one of these products, the big difference is you don't think about it as your server's local file system anymore, like you would with a traditional file server. S3's architecture is, you treat S3 as what it is, which is someone else's API. You make network requests to S3 when you want to upload or download files to it, and your application server interacts with it as an external server, not like a traditional server would, where it would just go to its local disk to read image and video files. When you're working with local media files, the only thing you have to worry about is the file path. Where's my program running? Where are the files that I want to serve on disk? Whether that's an absolute or a relative file path. When working with S3, it's similar, but there's now two things you have to worry about. There's the bucket, and there's the key, which you could basically think about as a file path. Buckets are globally unique identifiers. So you usually just set up a bucket for your project, or maybe your project might have multiple buckets if you've got a more sophisticated project that you're building. But then all you need is a key to be able to store and retrieve files. And this is typically done through your code, but one really cool part about these offerings is that when you add an object to one of these buckets and you make the bucket publicly accessible, someone can access your files directly through the API. In other words, S3 can be your media server. You don't need your server to proxy requests through to the bucket. You can let your application server worry about serving JSON. You can let S3 serve your media.
And video. Information. How to manage servers on your own. Yeah, that's why it's serverless in quotes. Georgia misunderstood due to dubious naming does not mean there are no servers, means it's someone else's problem. Yeah, obviously serverless, AWS Lambda, like Google Cloud Functions, that's Firebase. Azure Functions, Azure. More free service compute. AWS 3 is one of the first serverless services. Arguably the most popular. It's not serverless compute, it's serverless storage. You don't want to manage scale slash, it's S3, servers that store files. The local file system server makes them request the S3 API to read and write files. Right? Making S3 bucket through the AWS code tooly-random number. So just a random one. Just choose one. Choose your own number, okay. So we need to make new bucket. Tubely dash 89245. Okay, uncheck block all public access. Leave public versioning, leave bucket versioning off. Okay, disabled. Leave default encryption on with managed keys. It was S3 managed keys, okay. Leave object lock disabled. Disabled, okay. Okay, and we create the bucket. Acknowledge the current settings. It would be nice that they just told me there was an error there. It's kind of annoying, but then use AWS as CLI to ensure the bucket is there. It is there. Go to your bucket and configure the bucket policy under the permissions tab. Okay. Copy paste following and place a bucket name with your bucket. Provides access to objects stored in the bucket. Bucket policies don't apply to objects owned by other accounts. Tubely dash 89425. Save changes. Policy as an invalid resource. Saying that, oh yeah, because I spelled it wrong. It's 245. I'm kind of interested in knowing a little bit more about what this is. JSON document attached directly to S3 bucket defines permissions for those who can perform actions. Uses AWS identity and access management policy language to grant and deny. Bucket policy follows the general structure, the version, array of one or more permission statements, identifier, whether to terminate or block, who the policy applies to, or all, actions, resources, conditions, object restrictions, bucket for objects, that's reactions, okay. How do they work? Apply policy via AWS Management Console, AWS CLI or SDKs. Only the bucket owner can attach and modify when a request hits S3. AWS checks IAM policies on the requester, the bucket policy, any ACLs. Access grant only if no deny applies and at least one allow matches. Explicit deny always wins. Bucket policies and override IAM if they conflict. Applies the entire bucket, cross account access, specify others accounts. But yeah, this is literally what we're doing right here. Making the bucket publicly readable. So I guess anybody can send a request to the bucket. Okay, that's pretty cool. I just want to submit these tests. You should pass. If I could copy and paste. Okay. I'll do this lesson. It shouldn't be that hard. Don't want to make the videos too long. Upload the boot's image horizontal image file to newly created buckets. This was uploaded as an objects that are fundamental entities. I think it said horizontal. And leave the settings default. Open the file in the browser. This is the URL. Oh, that doesn't look at the URL. It's just leading me to the console. Oh, here's the URL. Oh, wow. So it's just hosted right here. Use AWS CLI to check the file and redirect the output. I'm not sure that's checking for the file, or is this checking for if it exists. Hoobly -A9245. Like, pipe that. Do temp / bucket _ contents .txt. I can cat that file. Yeah, there we go. That was pretty easy. Yeah, I think I can finish this. S3 is really simple. Honestly, I don't even know why you bought this course. Personal validation. Validate goes in bucket B at key C. And that's it. You only need two things: access an object, the bucket name, and the object key. Bucket name, object key. Yeah, that's this destination right there. Or wait, that's just the bucket link. So you can go S3 with the name of the bucket and the image. Buckets have global unique names because they're part of the URL. Use accent. If I make a bucket called BDVids, I mean, there's no way these links work, because I'm assuming that this isn't like a URL, and that's not like a super unique name. I don't know how that would ever work. I'm gonna randomly try it, but I don't think anything's gonna happen. Yeah. Maybe you can make requests to that somehow. It doesn't look like they're talking about. Buckets have global unique names as part of URL. Call the bucket called BDVids. You can't make a bucket BDVids, even if you're in a separate AWS account. Huh. So bucket names are unique. Like a bucket called boot.dev won't work. Boot. I guess we can try that. Wow. That's a super fast search, I guess, for their entire database. As a way, because it's because looking at a global unique, and that's already taken. Okay, this is a hard assignment. I'm not sure if I'll do this tonight. I might go to bed, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I will be seeing you all in the next one. Feel free to join Discord or give any advice to me if you would like. You can also check me on Twitter. I'm posting on there now. If you follow me on like GitHub or Twitter, let me know. I will follow you back. I'm the type of guy to be trying to keep my follower count low. Yeah, I always want to try and follow you guys' journey, help you out any way I can. Yeah, keep grinding, guys. Keep going. Consistency is the only thing that matters at the end of the day, so don't give up. All right, I'll see you all in the next one.